Welcome back to the No Referees podcast, where we have unpenalized sports conversations with sports personalities from around the world on their grind, the game, and much more. Alongside Special Jennings, I'm Evarist and Special. We're bringing you a Texas Nigerian Connection edition. As always, you can find us on our social media pages at No Referees Pod and on our YouTube channel, No Referees Podcast. Joining us today is a very, 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 very special guest. Lieutenant Commander of the United States Navy. He also is a driver in the NASCAR Xfinity and Truck Series. He's the owner of the Red List Group. You can find him everywhere on social media at Jesse_Iwuji. My Texas Nigerian brother, like I already mentioned, Jesse Iwuji. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no problem, man. How you doing these days, man? Look, I know that you're a football guy at heart. So we just had a Super Bowl happen recently. Give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, the Super Bowl was pretty good. It was crazy to watch, Patrick Mahomes versus, Tom Brady, a young up and coming star in the league who he was already a star. I mean, he's there, but he's going to do so much more because he's so young in his career. And then, watching someone like Tom Brady, who is, getting towards the end of his career, he's not completely done. I think he's going to stick around for a little bit longer, but to still see him at the top of his game, even at his age, I believe they said that Patrick Mahomes was somewhere around like 6 years old or so when Tom Brady was winning his first few Super Bowls. So yeah, it's crazy to see that. Imagine being a little kid. I mean, like literally not even in elementary school, barely. And all of a sudden watching this guy winning Super Bowls, all of a sudden now you're playing against him in the Super Bowl. But Tom Brady and their team, I mean, they executed. The Buccaneers did a really good job on offense and defense of sticking to their plan and just executing on every single play. Whereas on the Kansas City side, defense came out flat. The defense, I saw a lot of people pointing fingers at each other type like, hey, that's your gap, that's your area, that's your bust, all that stuff. And then on the offensive side, not having the full offensive line, I think really hurt Patrick Mahomes because they had a good solid, the receivers, running back, quarterback obviously are solid. The line just could not hold up, and Patrick Mahomes just got hit and hit and hit. And anytime that happens, you just can't win a game.
Yeah, I was talking to Special yesterday, and I said I'm gonna be going for Kansas City because Patrick Mahomes, a Texas guy. The Bucks have had a couple of Texas guys too, so I didn't really know who to choose. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I was just rooting for the Cowboys.
Me too. They're going to the Super Bowl next year.
Y'all are both delusional. The Cowboys are not going to the Super Bowl. No time soon.
Well, Jesse, every question, we always start all our interviews off here. Our slogan here, No Referees Podcast, is no rules, no text, and no whistles. So we always ask every guest the same question to start it off. What was your very, very, very first time getting into it with a referee?
I don't think I honestly ever got into it with the referee. Anytime that I ever had a penalty, I didn't have a lot of penalties called against me. I was for the most part pretty good at always following the rules. So as a football player, when I watch guys do really dumb things like face mask and this and that, I watch holding calls, all these really dumb things. For me, it just never made sense because for me, I don't know. I feel like I could think a little bit better than that. On the football field, you got to be able to think. You can't just play you can't just be wild on the field. You got to be able to think. I mean, it's a mental game. Sports in general, the higher you go, it's a mental game. So you got to be able to have your mind focused to understand, okay, if this person's back is faced to me, I cannot block them. I don't care how I'm feeling at that moment. You cannot push them in the back. You cannot hold them. Once you grab jersey, you are holding. Let go of it. Some people can't, for some reason, figure that out. I don't know how people make these little mistakes, but they do. So I never got into it. I never got into it with any referees because I wasn't getting penalties called on me because I was a little bit smarter than that.
Well, tell me a time you got a penalty and you just disagreed with it then.
Because it was so few and far between. I think I had one instant. Yeah, I did have one where it was on offense in high school. I was playing wide receiver. I was coming out, getting ready to line up, and as I ran out to my spot to go line up, I was running out. Obviously, you can't see the ball as you're running out there to go get lined up. I go out there and I get lined up, and right when I do, I noticed that I was a yard ahead of where the football was. Obviously, a mistake. I couldn't see it. I just turned around and I happened to be a yard in front of it. referee throws a flag. Usually referees are cool. They're like, hey, back up. And that's what most refs do. This guy just decided, oh, no, offsides, boom, or false start, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I was like, hey, it's obviously like a little simple thing. I mean, it happens all the time. It's not like an uncommon thing. Like, it's just, you can't see it as you're running out there and you just happen to be a yard ahead or a few inches ahead, then you back up and then you're good, but he decided to call a penalty that day.
That's a great story. And look, I never played any football. I'm not athletic at all, and Special could attest to that. I probably would have got 45 flags thrown on me just by trying to tie my shoes.
That's true. He is very unathletic.
That's all right though. Hey, but look, all right, Jesse, let's take me back to Carrollton, Hebron Hawks, high school. I looked them up the other day. They got amazing new facilities over there. Take us back into how I read a lot of things. You've already had a lot of interviews talking about how the Navy recruiters came and found you. Take us through that process that you wanted to go to Texas, you wanted to go to TCUs and local DFW schools to play football, but you were only a 2-star recruit. Take us to that process, how you ended up with the Navy Academy.
Yeah. So, while playing football in high school, my big goal was to go off to college and play college football. But, I was maybe 170, 175 pounds in high school, 6 foot, but I wasn't huge. I had some good speed, just in the prior year before my senior year. I just got off of going to a state championship in track and, definitely had the speed there, but I didn't have all the size in the world. So when all these big schools like, University of Texas, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, TCU, when they're looking at recruiting, within Texas, they're looking for the DBs that are, 6 foot, 200 pounds, 6 foot, 210, 6'2", all that. I wasn't that. I was smaller than that. So that kind of hurt me on that end. So, some of the other schools started looking at me, and one of them was the Naval Academy. And when I started getting recruited by them, I saw it as a great opportunity, probably better than the ones for going to the other schools in Texas, because I could go to a really, really good school, get a really, really good education, play football for a team that's, playing all across the country. The one thing with other schools at that time was, all these other schools are in a conference. So they're playing kind of the same schools every single year. Whereas at the Naval Academy, at that time, they were independent. So we got to play whoever we wanted, whenever we wanted, all the time. So it was actually really cool being able to travel across the country, playing all different kind of teams in California, going to Notre Dame, going to Texas, going to Florida, going all these different places to play people. It was really cool. So I really liked that aspect a lot. And they were winning games and going to bowl games every single year. Not all the big schools, even though they're popular, go to bowl games every year. So I wanted to go to a place where we're pretty much like guaranteed to go to bowl games all the time. So that made my decision right there for me. And I made a decision to go to the Naval Academy, and it's the best decision I probably ever made.
I remember reading something on your bio that June 30th, 2005 was the day that you enrolled. And that's actually my birthday. So, we got 3 different ways. We got 3 different connections we got here.
Nice.
I'll be first to say, Jesse, that I'm really intrigued by your journey. I'm younger. I'm fairly young in my profession, and your drive is just something about your drive. And you said something that really resonated with me. And I know I'm jumping all over the place, and this is like I'm jumping ahead from college. You made a comment that it said, so many have big goals and big dreams, but they're scared to go after them. How has that resonated with you from a Navy, football, to NASCAR, to just everyday life? What have you done to get to your big dream?
Yeah, that journey, getting to your goals and dream, it's not easy. It's tough. And when I made that comment, a lot of people, they have big goals, they have big dreams, and the only places those dreams and goals go to is the grave. The graveyard has a plethora of goals and dreams there. The most wealthy place in the world is the graveyard because so many people's goals and dreams go there to die. And people don't take an action to actually go for these goals because they're scared of they're fearing failure. Sometimes they're fearing the level of success they could potentially achieve with it. There's all this fear that's stopping people, is holding people back. People don't understand like it's okay to have some of those fears. It's okay because yes, going on this journey to achieve a goal is definitely difficult, but as long as you continue to push forward, you are going to make it to the end. Like it's success is pretty much guaranteed as long as you stay strong enough long enough. It's not about the talent, it's not about skills, it's not about any of that. It's all about who stays strong enough long enough. You get into the room and you do everything you can to fight to stay in the room. As you're going through this journey, as you're going through this dark tunnel, there's going to be a lot of dark days, but you have to understand that life's a cycle. Like it's going to have its ups and it's going to have its downs, but after the down, it goes back up. People experience the highs and then they hit the low and they think it's over. And it's like, no, it's not over. Just keep moving, move to the next day, and guess what? It goes back up. But understand, like, even in the darkest point of the night, the sun is still going to rise. It's going to rise. It's going to come up. So you got to keep pushing forward every single day, actionable steps every day, insane belief that you will make it happen, faith that even through this dark tunnel, there actually is light. And that's where the faith comes into. As people are walking through this dark journey, it's pitch black and they believe, oh man, it's over. That's it. Like, I can't see the light. Like, aren't I supposed to at least be able to see a speckle of light the whole time? No. You're just going to be pitch black because life has to test those to see, okay, how much faith are you going to have that the light's there? Because I'm telling you, light is there. I know you can't see it, but let's just, if you can at least believe me and just have faith, don't worry, you're going to get to the light. And that's what people have to understand when they're going through their journey and they're trying to achieve something big that's bigger than whatever else they've achieved in their life.
So where did that come from for you? Because let's say you touched on light and darkness and all those things, and you've been through some darkness. You know, when you started out racing, you wrecked 6 out of 7 times. You know, that can be deflating for somebody. That can, you know, set you and put you somewhere where you quit, you give up. You know, when did the light click for you? You know, how did you overcome that failure?
Yeah. So for me, the light actually clicked, and everything I just said, I started understanding this before I got into this journey of racing. Actually, the moment I began the journey of racing is when I had to first understand everything I just said. So I had to understand that, hey, you're going to go through this dark journey. It's going to be dark and it's going to go down and down and down. But the higher I want to go in life, I'm building this skyscraper. I want this skyscraper to be huge. I want it to have 100 floors. Like, it's going to be a huge skyscraper. But the higher I want to go, that means the deeper I'm going to have to dig. And digging deep, especially into this earth, is very, very difficult. So I understood that right before I got into this whole thing. And is with understanding that and getting my mindset in the right place, that's what allowed me to go through what I had to go through. You can't jump into something and not have the right mindset and think that you need to get your mindset right while doing it, because it's not going to work. You got to get your mindset right first before you do anything, so you can get to where you want to go. I see on YouTube, you have all these quote unquote gurus and people like that who are giving, here's the 5 steps or 10 steps to success. You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to, build this little plan, do this and do that. All that stuff's fine and dandy. And yes, it is helpful, but that's not what you actually need. There is one big thing, and that is mindset. You have to get your mindset in a place where you are willing to risk it all, where you're willing to take every single punch, no matter where it's hitting the side, hitting you in your ribs, hitting you in your face, like hitting you in the backside of your head, whatever. You got to be able to get into a place where you are comfortable with this uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable situation. And then once you get into that place, that's what's going to make you dangerous in whatever space you're trying to go into.
So who kind of helped you facilitate, who you speak about like-minded people, right? And surrounding yourself with people who are of the same, have the same mind, same goal, same, just an aura about them. A go-getter is a go-getter, no matter what profession you're in. Who are some of those people that you surrounded yourself with that kind of helped you, twist your mindset? Because I know after, again, and going back to your 6 out of 7 times you wrecked, that's incredible for you to just be able to overcome that. Who are some of the people that were in your corner that kind of just pushed you like to the light that you spoke about?
Yeah. Well, one, God, of course, because all this doesn't happen without him. So he's always there. He's always in the corner since day one. Two, during my first year in racing, I pretty much kind of got rid of like everyone in my life, like who basically wasn't trying to elevate themselves. So if you weren't trying to really go past where you were, then I wasn't going to talk to you that much that year. Not that I wasn't going to be your friend still and be cool with you. It just, communications were going to like disappear. And I started doing that and quickly realized, like, oh man, there's not a lot of people next to me who are trying to elevate. Not that they're not trying to do something good in life. They're just not trying to go above and beyond and get to something they've never gotten to. So I'm like, man, this is a small world of people who want to go be extraordinary. So I got rid of all of it. And I'm like, okay, well, now it's just me. So then I was like, okay, I don't have to completely be alone. What I can do is I started listening to Les Brown and Eric Thomas, two really great motivational speakers. And I was like, these are the voices I'm going to listen to. Like, I can't see them. I can't be next to them, but they have a ton of content out there. I'm just going to listen to their stuff every single day. So I had it playing, in my room every day, all the different motivational talks about different things, about how to get your mindset right, all this stuff about how to, get through a journey. And I had that stuff playing in the background 4 or 5, 6 hours a night, every single night for a few years. And that's what I did. And then that's what helped me get my mind in the right place and get me going in the right place. And that's what I did to surround myself around like-minded people, because that's some of the things that they would say all the time is, your circle of friends, your group of 5 people, like that's who you're going to be. And I was like, well, I don't want to be like some of these other people. So I'm pushing them to the side for right now. It's like, I want to be like you. So I'm just going to listen to you. And it's just like, you're not physically here, but I'm listening to you. So I'm taking on that energy. I'm taking on those thoughts. I'm taking on that mindset. And then that's what's going to help me. And now here we are.
Yeah, here we are. You mentioned extraordinary. I'm going to take it back to sports real quick, your football days. Then we're going to get into some NASCAR stuff. Because Special, she's from Ohio. She's a Buckeye. I know we mentioned earlier about your 4-year career. You went to a bowl game every year when you were at Navy. And your very first game, you have a story playing the Ohio State Buckeyes. So walk us through, how y'all almost beat the Buckeyes to the last second play.
Yeah, we were playing the Buckeyes. They were number 6 in the country at that time. And we got out there to Ohio State. We were playing them, 107,000 people in the stands. Biggest game I've probably ever played in my life. And as we were playing them, the first part of the game, I would say the first half, they started stomping us. We came out, I think we scored like once or so, and then they just started stomping us from there. It's like, I think it got to a point where it was like 20-something, 21-7 or 6 or something like that. Like they were starting to get us. So going into the third quarter, at this point, they start putting their second string players in because they weren't beating us 40-0 or anything like that. So usually that's when you start bringing out your second string players. They were only up like probably 2.5 touchdowns or so. And they're like, oh yeah, we're going to just keep going. So they bring out their second string. Well, all of a sudden, we still got our starters out there. We make a few adjustments and we start fighting back. Next thing you know, we find ourselves basically about to tie with them in the fourth quarter. And they're like, what is going on? And the cameras were showing like the sidelines and the starters are trying to find their helmet because they got to get back in the game. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They're like, we can't lose the Navy. So we're fighting back. And then we score and we tie it up or we get close to tying up. And all we needed to do was we were 2 points away. So all we needed to do was score this 2-point conversion. We'd be tied up with 2.5 minutes, I believe, left to go in the game. Go for a 2-point conversion. Instead of running it, which has been working really well for us, we decided to pass, but they got a little bit of pressure on us. The quarterback threw a bad ball. It got intercepted. And not only intercepted, the guy ran it back all the way and scored. And we ended up losing by 4 points that game, but very close. We almost knocked off the number 6 team in the nation. First game of the season in 2009.
That is commendable. That is commendable. Yeah. But Everest, no, I'm a smarty, so I'm gonna say almost doesn't count. You know, my Buckeyes remained undefeated,
Yeah.
and yeah,
No, they
he,
did good. They're a
he,
good team. Good team.
yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
just
what
want to.
yeah.
I wanted to make sure I brought that up because I know Special's from Ohio, and when she played at Xavier, and her head coach Xavier is now the head coach at Ohio State. So I wanted to make sure I brought that in. So Jesse, all right, let's get into some NASCAR stuff. You know, there was a big uproar last summer with the Bubba Wallace. Is it a noose? Is it a handle? Is it this? Is it that? You know, as one of only a handful of African American drivers in NASCAR, how was that time for you? And how did you, be by Bubba's side or give him words of encouragement? You know, take us through that moment.
Yeah, it definitely was a difficult time, that's for sure. Obviously the FBI was able to come in and figure out what happened, and they determined that it wasn't of malicious intent from what they did or what they uncovered in their investigation, which was good, and that's great. From there, we can move on. There still was a lot of people wanting to hate on the whole situation and say this and say that. I don't know why there's a lot of people who are stuck in some very negative ways, very negative people out there. I don't know why, but their life will go where their life goes because of that. But anyways, there's a lot of negativity out there. A lot of people who wanted to say, oh, it was a stunt, it was this, it was that, whatever. At the end of the day, it wasn't malicious intent, and that's all that matters. NASCAR did everything they were supposed to do, which was take it very serious, because if they didn't take it serious and it happened to be of malicious intent, then that would have been a very, very big issue. And I tell people, I'm like, look, you can look at it the same way, airports look at it. If a backpack's laying around, people are going to take it very serious as, hey, this could potentially be a bomb or something like that. So they go through a certain protocol, they go through certain procedures, they heighten all the alarms. A lot of stuff happens. And some people would think, oh my gosh, you're taking this like way too far. It's just a backpack. Some, kid just accidentally, left their bag right there. Okay, yeah, maybe. But guess what? There was instances, and there's been times where that backpack was something notable, and it ended up being a bomb. So just like in this situation, like there's been many nooses out there which were made with malicious intent. So, you got to take it serious, especially with what was going on, the situation, the time period, the state that they're in Alabama, where, nooses have, this stuff has happened a lot. Also with all the different racial injustice stuff going on, the tensions going on, this wasn't just, any other year. This was this year, that was going through those times. So I think NASCAR did everything they were supposed to do. And the investigation uncovered that it wasn't what we thought it was. And that's great. Perfect. Move on.
Black folks, we're typically not people who root for, not know anything about NASCAR. I have been a NASCAR fan pretty much my whole life. My mother used to work for UPS when Dale Jarrett was an 88 driver. I grew up not far from Texas Motor Speedway. So I was really I already knew who you were. I already knew who Bubba was. Beasley, I believe the other driver's name is. I knew the other driver. So I was kind of already in tune, but, African Americans at large are not really, NASCAR fans. So what was the support that you felt from the African American community during that time?
Yeah, during that time, I believe got a pretty good amount of support. My message the whole time was a message of unity. You'll never see me be really, really pro this way or pro this way. You see me being pro everyone, putting everyone together at all times, no matter what's going on. Because as a leader, that's what you got to be. As a leader, I have to be the one who unites all, no matter what's happening. You got to unite all, because united we stand, divided we fall. And I've seen it time and time again in history. It's everything I've learned over time. Division, not good, not good. It will just destroy the organization. Everyone has to unite. Everyone has to come together. Everyone has to fight for one common goal, and that's humanity, and just being good people and having respect for one another, no matter what your color is, no matter what your gender is, no matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter. We're there. I mean, there's bad things going on in the U.S., and there's some really bad things going on across the world and other places, places that have all the same race together in one place, and still going through some major issues. Nigeria, with the SARS thing, I mean, we're all like pretty much one people there. We all look the same there, and we're still killing each other. It's just, there's a lot of bad things, and all comes back to just uniting as people and respecting each other. That's how we're going to get past a lot of stuff that's going on in the world.
How did you go from Division I college football to the Navy to I'm gonna be a NASCAR driver? Like how did that happen?
Well, for me, I've always liked cars. I've always liked racing throughout my whole life. It was like a thing on the side that I always liked. So, but football, cars and racing, that wasn't going to get me to college and get me, into the working world to be able to make some type of living at first. That wasn't going to do that at first, especially since I didn't start early. I didn't have like the resources or even know what to do. I had to go a different route. So football was my sport that I knew I could go do well at that time, and that was going to get me to college to play college football. Now, while I was doing that, the Naval Academy was the best school recruiting me, and it had all the best to offer. So that's what allowed me to get into the Navy side of things. So I was at the Naval Academy, pretty much on a trajectory to become an officer in the Navy, and then I was playing football, which is what I loved. And then when I graduated from the Naval Academy in 2010, I became a surface warfare officer. So I was on the ships. I was on ships for about 4 years, went on 2 different deployments. After my second deployment, came back from that one in 2014. And then in 2015, I had a lot more time on my hands because I was now on shore duty. So I wasn't having to go out to sea, go on ships anymore. I was on land. It was almost like a 9-to-5 type job. So it was a lot more free time, especially on the weekends. And at that point, I was like, okay, now let me jump into my other passion, which was cars and racing. Let me try to go that route. Had no clue where I was going to go. I just wanted to jump into it and start racing. And eventually I was like, you know what? Why don't I try to become a professional driver? And NASCAR was the first door that opened up for me because I saw that was the best place where I think I could go succeed and have the best opportunity, because there's a lot of other racing series out there, but not a lot of them have a lot of opportunity. A lot of them don't have a great, they don't have the coverage I think needed to really have a ton of success and make it really far. So NASCAR was the way to go, and that's what I started pursuing.
So how do you practice for that? Like, is it, when I think of NASCAR, I think of the person in the lane next to me that looks at me in my car, and I'm, kind of revving, kind of sizing my vehicle up. How do you practice outside? Like, is it all just at the track? Or I believe in one video where you had this thing with your feet and you were doing something and it looked like you were in a video game. Like, how do you practice for NASCAR?
Yeah, so one of the ways a lot of people practice is using racing simulators, which is what I have. So I have a racing simulator here in the house in that room over there, where it's a racing seat, a steering wheel, pedals, shifter, just like a normal car. And then we train on there. And I have a virtual reality headset that I put on, so it puts me in the car. It makes me feel like I'm really in the car. And it's more than just your typical arcade video game where you play at, I don't know, Dave and Buster's or something like that. It's way different than that. It feels way more realistic. You have to treat it realistic because it does everything it can to be realistic. And that's how we train. You can also go test on tracks. If you're a rookie, NASCAR allows like rookies to test 3 or 4 times in a year. But after your rookie status, you cannot test anymore. So there really isn't much practice at all unless you go jump into some other kind of race car and train. But in your actual NASCAR race vehicle, you can't use that particular vehicle to go train on any tracks. NASCAR just doesn't allow it.
So describe to us that feeling of, okay, I've been behind the scene. I've been virtual. I've been on the pedals and things like that. Go from you said it feel real. It feel real until it is real.
Yeah.
Describe to us that first ride for you, that first time you got on the track, you were at the start line and you were behind a wheel in real life.
Yeah, going to from virtual to reality, it's definitely a big difference. On the virtual side of things, it feels real as far as like the dynamics and all that stuff. But everything changes when you get on a real track because now the risks are real. There is no reset button. You can't just crash and hit reset. If you crash, like the car's done for. So, that's what you got to take into account. So usually you're always just a little bit slower in real life than you are on the racing simulator, because you can't completely go all out. So, getting into my first race was definitely nerve wracking for sure. But once the green flag dropped and we started racing, those nerves go away, and you get into your comfort zone. I feel like more comfortable, at the high speeds than I do prior to leading up to the race.
Jesse, I got a question for you. I've been a strength and conditioning coach for 16 years, and a lot of people just, the last handful of years or so consider NASCAR drivers as athletes. Some people don't even recognize NASCAR drivers as a real sport. So I want to ask you, when you're in the car, you're pulling G's. You have to train a certain type of way. You have to train a certain type of exercise. NASCAR teams have strength and conditioning coaches, physical therapists, sports medicine people, et cetera. So other than the racing simulator that you mentioned, how do you keep your body trained for NASCAR competitions?
Yeah, keeping my body trained, just a lot of physical fitness. I'm always working out and running every single day. I do a lot of sprints. I lift weights. I do some different like boxing routines, different things like that to, work through heat stress and just keeping my body physically fit. Because when you're in a race car, it's a lot of heat in the car. It's not like a normal car. You jump in, you have an AC and all that stuff, and you're just cruising around and you don't sweat. When you jump into a race car, it's like, think of like the middle of the summer when it's like super hot and 100 degrees outside, and you first go to your car and your normal car, which has been sitting outside, let's say in a parking lot for a few hours. So you know how it's baking crazy hot in there, and then you jump in, you're like, oh my God, like this is good, like I'm gonna melt. Imagine like that heat. But imagine not being able to turn on the AC, not being able to like get any real air to like cool it down. And imagine just go drive for 2 hours in that exact heat around. That's basically what we race in.
That's like that Texas heat right there.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
So it's all the same for all the cars? Why don't the cars come with air conditioning?
Because it's extra weight and it takes away horsepower.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but y'all have the cooling vest, like the air conditioner throwing through your suit, correct?
You can. I've never used it. One of these days I will. I've never used it though, but you can do that though.
That's cool. All right, Jesse, let's talk about give me your favorite NASCAR track. I've been to Poconos, I've been to Darlington, I've been to Daytona. Tell me what's your favorite track that you've been on so far, that you've raced on, and a track that you want to race on in the future.
Yeah, I would say probably one of my favorites is Sonoma. I love the road course there, all the different elevation changes and all the corners and stuff. It's a fun track. One that I'm looking forward to going to is probably Circuit of Americas this year when they race the road course in Austin. So that should be pretty fun. It's a Formula One track. So NASCAR hasn't been on, current Formula One tracks in a while. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Who's like your idol? Like, who do you look up to? Who do you practice against? Like, who's been like the biggest help, for you in your career as a NASCAR driver?
I wouldn't say I have any idols. There's people I look at and I like some things from different people that like I try to take on board and emulate a little bit. But I wouldn't say I really have any idols. But one great person to look up to, I would say Dale Earnhardt Jr. Great person, really humble. Even with all the stardom and all that stuff, he's very down to earth and cool, chill person, which is great. Like I like that kind of personality. That's kind of what I've been shaping myself around really the past few years as I've been going through this journey.
How did your family like take it when you were like, mom, dad, brother, sister, hey, I'm gonna be a NASCAR driver? Like, what were their thoughts? Like, what'd they say?
I want to piggyback on that, because I was gonna ask that same question too, because in Nigerian culture, you're raised to be a doctor or a nurse or engineer or something, lawyer. Yeah. Exactly. So I was gonna ask you that same question.
Yeah. They were just, they weren't really necessarily trying to stop me. They they hinted at, hey, you know, there's other things you can also do and all that stuff. But I wouldn't say they like got angry or anything like that or tried to stop me, but they did think I was a little bit crazy. But then when they started seeing me really go after it, that I wasn't going to let anything stop me, they just kind of let it go. And, you know, they just were supportive where they could be. And they've gotten an opportunity to come to a couple races now at Texas Motor Speedway. And that's been really cool having them come to my races because, you know, they used to be able to come to like my high school games and they came to some college games, but they never really got to come to any races. So this was cool over the last couple of years. So I have the opportunity to have them be at some of the races.
Jesse, what's your pre-race meal? Is it, you got some fufu, you got some goosey soup, you know, what's your pre-race routine looking like?
Yeah, no, pre-race, I try not to eat too much during the day. I try to keep it fairly light. I just make sure I'm hydrating all throughout the week. I drink a lot of coconut water from the coconut. What else am I doing? Yeah, just hydration all week long, water. And then, you know, try to, just hydration. That's the biggest thing.
This may be a weird question. What has been like your worst like wreck that you've been in? Was it a blown tire, the roof come off, or, you know, what has been like the worst?
Blown tire is probably it feels the worst because you're like helpless. You're just like driving towards a wall because it can't turn anymore. You just hit it. That's like the most helpless one. At least on the other wrecks, it's like this happens out of nowhere. So you can't really, you know, it's just, yeah.
When somebody wrecks you, like, how do you feel? Like, if somebody like causes you like bump draft or hit you, you know, like, and no, it ain't your fault. Like, you feel like you want to get out of the car? Like, you see some NASCAR drivers, they want to fight or they want to have a little. How do you feel when you know it's not your fault when you get into an accident?
I mean, it's upsetting. It's upsetting, but you know, it's part of the game. It happens. You know, you're all on the track fighting for one thing, and that's to get up front and try to win the race. So, you know, things happen. It's upsetting, but you got to move on. You can't let it, like, you know, you can't dwell on it too long. You just got to move on to the next race.
All right, Jesse, before we get out of here, we got a couple questions before we get you out of here. Let's talk to No Referees fans about the Red List group. You know, I follow you on your social media. You know, we see you're drifting in your Corvette, you know, your souped up Corvette. You know, tell us a little about the Red List group.
Yeah, Red List Group. Basically, it's my events company where I put on drag racing events. We put on drag racing events a few times a year, mainly in Southern California, and also we usually do one big truck event in Phoenix. And I've been doing it for a few years. It's been going well. It's grown a lot. And you know, outside of that, yeah, I have my Corvettes that I race with for fun outside of NASCAR stuff. I got a C7 Z06 Corvette that I, you know, drag race with. I have a C6 Z06 that I use for drifting, and then I have a Skyline GTR that I use for, you know, drag racing and just going to meets and all that stuff. So all the stuff in the car world, I love it.
What do you drive every day?
I'm over here, yeah. I'm like, that's not my ass. I'm about to say, so what is your everyday car? What you drive
the Walmart is?
currently right now, the more everyday one is a C7 Corvette, C7 Z06. So I'll drive that usually around more often now. When I get the Skyline back from the shop, I'll probably go back and forth between those two.
Man, do you ever feel slow driving in regular traffic? Like this is too slow.
Nah, I just chill on the highway. I don't drive fast on the roads. I just chill. There's no point because I don't like paying the government ticket money. $300, $400. Like I was like, I could use that to go do a lot of other things. So for me, I don't really speed. I drive the speed limit. You know, I go have fun on it. Like when you're going to a track so often, like all the time, you know, you can go get your fun out there.
Jesse, you're also a keynote speaker. You get out and around the country. You speak on the behalf of the military and vets, and you also share your story oftentimes. So when people are in the crowd, you know, what would you say that you want them to take from, you know, listen to your story, listen to your message? You know, where do you going? Like I was thinking when I listened to one of your talks, I'm like, man, what am I going to start doing? You know, what am I going to stop doing and what I'm going to continue to start doing, you know? So just kind of take us through some of those kind of things you do as well.
Yeah, you know, I do a lot of speaking engagements, a lot of inspirational and motivational ones to kind of help and motivate people to go after their goals, go after their dreams. It's not easy to throughout your journey, sometimes you do need to hear it from someone who is there, who is doing it, who has gone through trials and tribulations. And I try to speak about that stuff during my speaking engagements to help motivate people and just get them off their butt and show them that, hey, it's okay. Like, you can go after it. I'm just like you. We're no different. We come from the same place. Just go after it. And that's kind of my main goal throughout my different speaking engagements that I do.
I was ecstatic to actually meet you because, I'm not a NASCAR driver, but a lot of the things that I've seen and read on you, you're very inspirational, and you're very kind of like myself, reality based, by telling people to surround yourself with like-minded people. Those are the people that's going to push you. You can only be great when you're around great. You can't expect to be able to pull the best, the best parts of you out of you, hanging with negative Nancy's and people that doesn't have any work ethic and drive.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I'm just appreciative that I actually got to meet you and speak to you and pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jesse, before we get you out of here, can you give the No Referees podcast a quick shout out?
Yeah. No Referees podcast. Everyone should listen to it, because you're going to find the best of the best here on the screen, giving their life story, and hopefully it motivates and helps inspire others out there to go after their goals and dreams. For anyone out there who's listening, just understand, like I said before, life rewards those who stay strong enough, long enough. So stay strong enough, long enough, and you will get to whatever you want to go to.
Thank you, Jesse, for those kind words. Everyone, please, again, go follow Jesse on his social media accounts at Jesse_Iwuji. He is also racing on March 5th at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Please check him out. Let's root for him so he can win that checker flag, get that big bag, get that big sponsor bag as well. Thank you again for joining us as Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy. He's also a NASCAR Xfinity and Truck Series driver and owner of the Red List Group, Jesse Iwuji. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the No Referees podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to this show, and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on social media at No Referees Pod. Till the next episode, we out.